Today on MTG Unpacked, we're taking a look at the March of the Machine Commander deck, Tinker Time. So the commander here is Gimbal Gremlin Prodigy. So this is a green, blue and red deck, also known as the Timur color combo. So we've got something to do with artifacts here. So I think his abilities increase with different artifacts. So that's going to be interesting. We've got 10 plane chase cards here, as well as a 100 card deck with 10 new cards, 10 double-sided tokens, a planar die, foil etch display, commander life wheel, deck box, strategy insert, and reference card. Okay, so let's get to cracking here. So these will set you back about 45 US a piece. And we have reviewed all of the others on the channel, so check them out in the Commander playlist, link in the corner in case you missed any. Alright, so let's see what we got here. The usual envelope, we've got a deck box, and what is in here? The deck, the flyer, life wheel, and the dice. Let's look at the dice. I like the variety of dice on offer here. So we've got Chaos on this side and a Planeswalker symbol here. Alright, so that looks awesome. And of course the box here, we've got some dividers and some punch out cards. Tinker Tailor token die. Okay, so a bit of a take off of a certain novel. If you know what that novel is, leave a note in the comments. Okay, so let's take a look at the flyer here. So we've got the rules of Commander. So if you're new to the format, this will get you started. And as well, some info about Plane Chase. So that's the oversized cards we're going to take a look at in a moment. And some lore about Gimbal Gremlin Prodigy. So if you're not aware of the Gremlins, they were a staple on the plane of Kaladesh. This tells you how to play the deck. So you get a whole heap of different types of artifacts. So we will see what that is about momentarily. And the deck box here. So we've got, where is he? We've got Gimbal on there. And some nice artwork on the sides. You could fit a fully sleeved commander deck in here, I reckon. Alright, the life wheel here goes up to 40 and counts down to 1. Alright, and what do we have in here? So this is plane chase cards. We'll take a look at those shortly. But first, the collector booster sample pack. So these are giving you a bit of a taste of collector boosters, hopefully whetting your appetite, although they are pretty expensive. Alright, so we have an ad card along with Vivian's Talent. Okay, so a borderless art version here. Along with Finn the Fangbearer. Okay, so a foil showcase version. We actually pulled one of those out of one of the previous collector booster sample packs. Alright, so let's take a look at these plane chase cards. What is all this about? You might be familiar with it if you have played some of the plane chase sets. So here we have Plane Chase. Awesome oversized cards. Let's check it out. So we start off here with Plane-Wide Disaster. It's a phenomenon. When you encounter Plane-Wide Disaster, destroy all creatures. Then planes walk away from this phenomenon. Next up we have Glimmer Void Basin, Plane of Mirrodin. Whenever a player casts an instant or sorcery spell with a single target, that player copies that spell for each other spell, permanent card not on the battlefield, and or player the spell could target. Each copy targets a different one of them, and whenever chaos ensues, choose target creature. Each player except that creature's controller creates a token that's a copy of that creature. And next we have the Selesnya Loft Gardens on the plane of Ravnica. If an effect would create one or more tokens, it creates twice that many of those tokens instead. If an effect would put one or more counters on a permanent, it puts twice that many of those counters on that permanent instead. And whenever chaos ensues until end of turn, whenever you tap a land for mana, add 1 mana of any type that land produced. And next up we have the Isle of Vesuva. On the plane of Dominaria, whenever a non-token creature enters the battlefield, its controller creates a token that's a copy of that creature. And whenever chaos ensues, destroy target creature and all other creatures with the same name as that creature. So yep, definitely a chaotic effect there. We've got Stronghold Furnace. It's on the plane of Wrath. If a source will deal damage to a permanent or player, it deals double that damage instead. And whenever chaos ensues, Stronghold Furnace deals 1 damage to any target. Next up we have the Wilds. On the plane of Eldraine, when you planeswalk to the Wilds and at the beginning of your upkeep, create a food token. So those are well known in Eldraine. Whenever chaos ensues, target player sacrifices a creature. If they do, you create a food token. You create 2 food tokens instead if the sacrificed creature's toughness was 4 or greater. Next up we have Girapur on the plane of Kaladesh. At the beginning of combat on your turn until end of turn, each non-creature, non-vehicle artifact you control becomes a 5/3 vehicle in addition to its other types and gains Trample, Haste, and Crew 2. Whenever chaos ensues, return target non-creature artifact card from your graveyard to your hand. And I'm really loving the artwork on these cards. Absolutely fantastic. We've got the Western Cloud on the plane of Gobakan. If you know what set that is from, let me know in the comments. Prevent all damage that will be dealt to creatures and planeswalkers you control, and whenever chaos ensues, create 3 tapped treasure tokens. They each deal 1 damage to each creature and each planeswalker. Then we have 10 Wizards Mountain. On the plane of Shenmeg, another one I'm not familiar with. Whenever you roll the planar die, put a +1/+1 counter on up to 1 target creature, and whenever chaos ensues, creatures you control gain flying until end of turn. And the final one here we have New Argive. On the plane of Dominaria, whenever a historic creature you control attacks, it gets +2/+2 until end of turn. Artifacts, legendaries, and sagas are historic. And whenever chaos ensues, reveal cards from the top of your library until you reveal a historic card. Put that card into your hand and the rest on the bottom of your library in a random order. Okay, so there is the Plane Chase goodness. And let's get into the deck itself here. So we've got the gremlins here. I wonder if there's a tribal gremlin theme. Probably not. Probably more related to the artifacts. Alright, so we'll cut there. And we've got our display commander here. So this is Gimbal Gremlin Prodigies. So a thicker card stock. So this is purely for display purposes. They used to have the oversized cards. Now they've just gone with smaller cardboard ones. But we do get a regular version you can include in your deck. So let's cut the deck like so. And take a look at what we've got here. Starting off with Gimbal Gremlin Prodigy. He's a mythic. Legendary creature Gremlin Artificer 4/4 for 5. Artifact creatures you control have Trample. And at the beginning of your end step, create a 0/0 red Gremlin artifact creature token. Put X +1/+1 counters on it, where X is the number of differently named artifact tokens you control. Alright, so we're going to be trying to create tons of different artifacts. Next up, oh, here's that monkey again, Rajmi and Ragavan. Legendary creature elf monkey. It's another mythic 2/4 for 4. Whenever you cast your first spell during each of your turns, exile the top card of target opponent's library and create a treasure token. Then you may cast the exiled card without paying its mana cost if it's a spell with mana value less than the number of artifacts you control. If you don't cast it this way, you may cast it this turn. Have you actually pulled a Ragavan? That mischievous monkey is very difficult to find indeed. Next up, we've got Command Tower. It's a land. Tap to add 1 mana of any color in your commander's color identity. So this has been in every single one of the decks we've seen. Crack Open. Sorcery for 3. Destroy target artifact or enchantment. Create a treasure token. So that's an artifact with tap. Sack this artifact, add 1 mana of any color. And Evolving Wilds. Tap, sack it, search your library for a basic land card, put it onto the battlefield tapped, then shuffle. So we've seen that one and this one as well. Fractured Power Stone. Tap for colorless. Tap, roll the planar die, activate only as a sorcery. Gruul Signet. Artifact for 2, for 1, tap, add red and green. And is it Signet? Same deal, add blue and red. Path of Ancestry. Enters tap, tap to add 1 mana of any color in your commander's color identity. When that mana is spent to cast a creature spell that shares a creature type with your commander, scry 1. So we've got like elf monkeys or gremlin artificers. So we'll keep our eyes peeled. Reverse Engineer. So this is a sorcery for 5, has improvise. Your artifacts can help cast this spell. Each artifact you tap after you are done activating mana abilities pays for 1. Sort of like Convoke, I think. Draw 3 cards. Root Out. Sorcery for 3. Destroy target artifact or enchantment. Investigate. So you create a clue token. It's an artifact with pay 2. Sack this artifact. Draw a card. Okay, so we've got treasure, food, clues. What else will we get? Simic Growth Chamber. So land enters battlefield. Tap. When it enters battlefield, return a land you control to its owner's hand. Tap for green and blue. Simic Signet. Artifact for 2. Pay 1. Tap for green and blue. Okay. So similar to that last one. Terramorphic Expanse. It's a land. Tap, sack it, search your library for a basic land card, put it onto battlefield tapped, then shuffle. And Thoughtcast. Affinity for artifacts. So this spell costs 1 less to cast for each artifact you control. So this is a sorcery for 5. Draw 2 cards. Replicating Ring. Snow artifact for 3. Tap to add 1 mana of any color on it. At the beginning of your upkeep, put a night counter on Replicating Ring. Then if it has 8 or more night counters on it, remove all of them and create 8 colorless snow artifact tokens named Replicated Ring with tap to add 1 mana of any color. And Combine Chrysalis. Artifact for 2. Creature tokens you control have flying. And for 2 green and blue, tap, sack a token, create a 4/4 green beast creature token, activate only as a sorcery. And Arcane Signet. We've seen this one a bunch of times before. Artifact for 2. Tap to add 1 mana of any color in your commander's color identity. Curse of Opulence. Okay, this is a nice reprint. Enchantment Aura. Curse for a single red enchant player. Whenever enchanted player is attacked, create a gold token. Each opponent attacking that player does the same. And a gold token is an artifact with sack this artifact, add 1 mana of any color. Okay, so more artifacts to boost your commander. We've got Frontier Bivouac. Enters battlefield tap, tap for green, blue, or red. Gerapur Ether Grid. Enchantment for 3. Tap 2 untapped artifacts you control, and it deals 1 damage to any target. Junkwinder. Creature Serpent. 5/6 for 7. Has affinity for tokens. So the spell costs 1 less to cast for each token you control. Whenever a token enters battlefield under your control, tap target non-land permanent an opponent controls it, doesn't untap during its controller's next untap step. Myriad Landscape. Enters tap, tap for colorless for 2, tap, sack it, search your library for up to 2 basic land cards that share a land type, put them onto the battlefield tapped, then shuffle. Reality Shift. Instant for 2, exile target creature. Its controller manifests the top card of their library. So that means that player puts the top card of their library onto the battlefield face down as a 2/2 creature. If it's a creature card, it can be turned face up any time for its mana cost. Ooh, a Planeswalker. We got Saheeli, Sublime Artificer. Legendary Planeswalker Saheeli, 5 loyalty for 3. Whenever you cast a non-creature spell, create a 1/1 colorless servo artifact creature token. -2, target artifact you control becomes a copy of another target artifact or creature you control until end of turn, except it's an artifact in addition to its other types. And Soul Ring. It's in every single deck, pretty much. Artifact for 1, tap for 2, colorless. And a split card here, Struggle to Survive. Struggle is an instant for 3. It deals damage to target creature equal to the number of lands you control. And Survive is a sorcery for 2 with Aftermath. Cast this spell only from your graveyard, then exile it. Each player shuffles their graveyard into their library. Next up, we've got Tireless Provisioner. That's a decent reprint. Creature Elf Scout 3/2 for 3 has landfall. Whenever a land enters battlefield under your control, create a food token or a treasure token. So food's an artifact with pay 2 taps. Like this artifact, you gain 3 life. And we learned about treasure earlier. Vampire's Vengeance, instant for 3. Vampire's Vengeance deals 2 damage to each non-vampire creature. Create a blood token. It's an artifact with pay 1 tap, discard a card, sack this artifact, draw a card. Weirding Wood, enchantment aura for 3, enchant land. When it enters the battlefield, investigate. So that's how you get those clue tokens. Enchanted land has tap to add 2 mana of any one color. Schemer Thief, creature of a Dalkin Rogue Artificer 3/3 for 4 with flying. Whenever Schemer Thief deals combat damage to a player, create a token that's a copy of target artifact that player controls. And again, more token artifacts. We've got Sandstep War Riders, creature human warrior 4/4 for 4 with trample. At the beginning of combat on your turn, bolster X, where X is the number of differently named artifact tokens you control. Choose a creature with the least toughness among creatures you control and put X +1/+1 counters on it. Alright, Cutthroat Negotiator, creature orc pirate 4/3 for 4 with Parley. Whenever it attacks, each player reveals the top card of their library. For each non-land card revealed this way, you create a tapped treasure token. Then each player draws a card. Next we've got Hedron Detonator, creature Goblin Artificer 2/3 for 3. Whenever an artifact enters battlefield under your control, Hedron Detonator deals 1 damage to target opponent. Tap, sack 2 artifacts, exile the top card of your library. You may play that card this turn. Complete this. It's fun. And Ichor Elixir, we've seen this in each of the other decks. Artifact for 4. If you'd roll 1 or more planar dice, instead roll that many planar dice +1 and ignore 1. Tap for 2 colorless. Path of the Animist, I think that's a decent one as well. Sorcery for 4. Search your library for up to 2 basic land cards, put them onto battlefield, tap, then shuffle. And it has Will of the Planeswalkers. Starting with you, each player votes for Planeswalk or Chaos. If Planeswalk gets more votes, Planeswalk. If Chaos gets more votes, or the vote is tied, Chaos ensues. We've got a Pain Distributor. Creature Devil Citizen 2/3 for 3 with Menace. Whenever a player casts their first spell each turn, they create a treasure token. Whenever an artifact an opponent controls is put into a graveyard from the battlefield, Pain Distributor deals 1 damage to that player. And Dance with Calamity. Sorcery for 8. What? Shuffle your library. As many times as you choose, you may exile the top card of your library. If the total mana value of the cards exiled this way is 13 or less, you may cast any number of spells from among those cards without paying their mana costs. Okay, so that's why it's insanely expensive, because it's a very powerful effect indeed. Next up, we've got Pia and Kiran Nalar, legendary creature human artificer 2/2 for 4. So when it enters the battlefield, create 2 1/1 colorless stop to artifact creature tokens with flying. For 2 and a red, sack an artifact. Pia and Kiran Nalar deals 2 damage to any target. Felden of the Third Path, legendary creature human artificer. So it's a mythic. 2/3 for 3. For 2 and a red, tap, create a token that's a copy of target creature card in your graveyard, except it's an artifact in addition to its other types. It gains haste. Sack it at the beginning of the next end step. Chaos Swap, instant for 3. The owner of target permanent shuffles it into their library, then reveals the top card of their library. If it's a permanent card, they put it onto the battlefield. Stroke of Genius, instant for X, 2 and a blue. Target player draws X cards. So you would probably target yourself with that one. Academy Manufactor, artifact creature assembly worker, 1/3 for 3. If you'd create a clue, food, or treasure token, instead create 1 of each. Nice. Aid from the Cowl, enchantment for 5, has Revolt. At the beginning of your end step, if a permanent you controlled left the battlefield this turn, reveal the top card of your library. If it's a permanent card, you may put it onto the battlefield. Otherwise, you may put it on the bottom of your library. And Bloodforged Battle Axe, artifact equipment for 1. Equipped creature gets +2/+0, and whenever a equipped creature deals combat damage to a player, create a token that's a copy of Bloodforged Battle Axe. Equip for 2. And Brass's Bounty, sorcery for 7. For each land you control, create a treasure token. So this deck is like spitting out tokens like nobody's business. We've got Cinderglade, a mountain forest, tap for red or green, enters tapped unless you control 2 or more basic lands. Echo Storm, sorcery for 5. When you cast a spell, copy it for each time you've cast your commander from the command zone this game. You may choose new targets for the copies. Create a token that's a copy of target artifact. And Everquill Phoenix. Creature Phoenix 4/4 for 4 has mutate for 3 and a red. So if you cast a spell for its mutate cost, put it over or under target non-human creature you own. They mutate into the creature on top, plus all abilities from under it. Has flying. Whenever this creature mutates, create a red artifact token named Feather with pay 1, sack Feather. Return target Phoenix card from your graveyard to the battlefield tapped. So will we see any other Phoenixes? I'm not sure. Exotic Orchard, it's a land. Tap to add 1 mana of any colour that a land an opponent controls could produce. Fiery Confluence, sorcery for 4. Choose 3. You may choose this same mode more than once. It deals 1 damage to each creature, or it deals 2 damage to each opponent, or destroy target artifact. Frostboil Snail, as it enters battlefield, you may reveal an island or mountain card from your hand. If you don't, it enters tap for blue or red. And same deal here, Game Trail, except for red or green. Gilded Goose, anyone remember this one? Creature Bird 0/2 for a single green, has flying. When it enters battlefield, create a food token for 1 and a green. Tap, create a food token, or tap, sack a food, add 1 mana of any colour. And whenever I see this card, I hear that stupid honking they gave it in MTG Arena. So yes, very memorable. We've got Hellkite Igniter, creature dragon 5/5 for 7 with flying and haste. For 1 and a red, it gets plus X plus 0 until end of turn, where X is the number of artifacts you control. Imprisoned in the Moon. Yes, Emrakul. Enchantment Aura for 3. Enchant creature, land, or planeswalker. Enchant a permanent is a colourless land with tap, add colourless mana, and loses all other types and abilities. So you lock them up really good with that one. Inspiring Statuary, artifact for 3. Non-artifact spells you cast have improvise. So your artifacts can help cast those spells. Each artifact you tap after you're done activating mana abilities pays for 1. Master of Ethereum, artifact creature of a Dark and Wizard, star for 3. Its power and toughness are each equal to the number of artifacts you control. Other artifact creatures you control get +1/+1. Masterful Replication, instant for 6. Choose 1. Create 2 3/3 colourless golem artifact creature tokens, or choose target artifact you control. Each other artifact you control becomes a copy of that artifact until end of turn. Perplexing Test, instant for 5. Choose 1. Return all creature tokens to their owner's hands, or return all non-token creatures to their owner's hands. Rise and Shine, sorcery for 2. Target non-creature artifact you control becomes a 0/0 artifact creature. Put 4 +1/+1 counters on it, or on each artifact, I should say, that became a creature this way. Has Overload for 4 and 2 blues, so you may cast a spell for its Overload cost. If you do, change target in its text to each. Saheli's Artistry, sorcery for 6. Choose 1 or both. Create a token that's a copy of target artifact, or create a token that's a copy of target creature except it's an artifact in addition to its other types. Sharding Sphinx, artifact creature Sphinx 4/4 for 6 with flying. Whenever an artifact creature you control deals combat damage to a player, you may create a 1/1 blue Thopter artifact creature token with flying. And Shimmer Dragon, creature dragon 5/6 for 6 with flying. As long as you control 4 or more artifacts, Shimmer Dragon has hexproof. So with this deck, that's basically all the time. Tap 2, untap artifacts you control, draw a card. Skyclave Relic, artifact for 3, has kicker 3, indestructible. When it enters the battlefield, if it was kicked, create 2 tap tokens that are copies of Skyclave Relic. Tap to add 1 mana of any colour. Spell Swindle, instant for 5, has counter target spell. Create X treasure tokens where X is that spell's mana value. Spine of Ishsar. When Spine of Ishsar enters the battlefield, destroy target permanent. When Spine of Ishsar is put into a graveyard from the battlefield, return Spine of Ishtar to its owner's hand. And I just like saying Spine of Ishtar. Temple of Abandon. When it enters battlefield, it enters tapped. And you scry 1, tap 4, red or green. Temple of Epiphany, same deal for blue or red. And Temple of Mystery, same deal for green or blue. Thopter Assembly, artifact creature Thopter 5/5/6 with flying. At the beginning of your upkeep, if you control no Thopters other than Thopter Assembly, return Thopter Assembly to its owner's hand and create 5 1/1 color Thopter artifact creature tokens with flying. That is insane. Thopter Spy Network, enchantment for 4. At the beginning of your upkeep, if you control an artifact, create a 1/1 color Thopter artifact creature token with flying, and whenever one or more artifact creatures you control deal combat damage to a player, draw a card. Oh, here's a nice reprint. Tireless Tracker, creature human scout 3/2 for 3 with landfall. Whenever a land enters the battlefield under your control, investigate. And whenever you sacrifice a clue, put a +1/+1 counter on Tireless Tracker. Vidalcan Humiliator, creature Vidalcan Wizard 3/4 for 4 with Metalcraft. Whenever it attacks, if you control 3 or more artifacts, creatures your opponents control lose all abilities and have base power and toughness 1/1 until end of turn. That is actually pretty brutal. And Vine Glimmer Snarl. As it enters battlefield, you may reveal a forest or island card from your hand. If you don't, it enters battlefield tap for green or blue. And Workshop Elders, creature human artificer 4/4 for 7. Artifact creatures you control have flying, and at the beginning of combat on your turn, you may have target non-creature artifact you control become a 0/0 artifact creature. If you do, put 4 +1/+1 counters on it. And Whirler Rogue, creature human rogue artificer 2/2 for 4. When it enters battlefield, create 2 1/1 color Thopter artifact creature tokens with flying. Tap 2 untap artifacts you control. Target creature can't be blocked this turn. Okay, so that is the bulk of the deck. Let's now take a look at the mana base and the tokens. So islands, we have 8 of those. Mountains, we have 8 of those, and forests we have 7 of those. Okay, so here we get into token madness. We got a Thopter 1/1 with flying. On the other side, a beast 4/4, another Thopter, another beast, a treasure token, and on the other side, a gremlin 0/0, treasure. And another gremlin, a golem 3/3. On the other side, a blood token. So another golem and a clue token on the other side of that one. We've got a 1/1 flying Thopter with gold on the other side. Another Thopter and gold and a feather token. So one of the cards referenced that earlier. Servo 1/1. Food token, okay, and replicated ring on the other side. Okay, and parts your turn and popular Magic formats. And one upgrade I would suggest here, buy more tokens or at least scribble some out on some paper because you're going to need them. So this deck actually looks pretty fun. I like how you have a whole heap of different artifacts. You've got all different sorts of artifact synergies between things. You can create more tokens, and that in turn boosts the abilities of your commander or other effects here. So this looks pretty cool. Let me know in the comments what you think about this one. And so that wraps up our look at all 5 of the commander decks. Like I said, check out the commander playlist if you have missed any of the others. Hope everyone's staying safe and healthy out there. Thanks for watching and have a great day.